The information, thoughts, and opinions provided through Creator Enterprises LLC and the Real Life Mages podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as professional, medical, legal, or financial advice. This podcast is provided as is. Creator Enterprises LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of the individual's use of, reference to, reliance on, or inability to use this podcast or the information contained herein. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Life Mages. I'm Stephanie Forcier with Creators on the Crest, and this is episode 6 of my podcast, From Blind to Align. And I am so excited to welcome you to this podcast today. Real Life Mages is where everyday people create everyday magic. And you'll see that this is episode 6. Be sure to go back and check out episodes 1 through 5 as well. Give this video a like if you're here enjoying it. Be sure to comment throughout the video and subscribe and hit the notification bell here on YouTube if that's where you're at. At the end, we'll go over ways to connect with myself and my very special guest today. My guest today is Courtney Poole. She is a nervous system guide, an emotional healing coach, and the founder of Blind Tribe and Quartz Bodywork. Born with low vision, she lost half of her sight at age 5 and has been navigating progressive vision loss ever since. After earning a degree in business and marketing and working as a yacht stewardess for billionaires, which I found was very interesting. We could probably do a whole podcast on that. She realized that even the wealthiest people are not immune to emotional pain. She later became a licensed massage therapist trained in craniosacral therapy, acupressure, deep tissue, and somatic healing. But her deepest lessons in life came from life itself. After losing her mother, losing her best friend, and losing her driver's license, Courtney learned to teach herself how to regulate her nervous system and process the emotions without numbing or escaping. Through her signature program, The Aligned Rebel, she now helps others heal, feel, and live in alignment with who they really are. It's beyond survival and beyond societal expectations. So I am so very pleased to welcome you, Courtney, to Real Life Mages.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so excited to be here.
I've been working with Courtney for a little while, so we get excited to talk to each other. It's like our little spiritual up level every time we hang out. So if we're a little giddy and having a little fun, that's just how we are. I want to dig in here, Courtney, because your story is fascinating, and I think your story can really assist others. It's so important in the world we live in to be able to process our emotions in a healthy manner, especially coming up against some major challenges that people might be experiencing in life. So let's just talk first about the vision loss, because your experience has been progressive vision loss throughout the years. Could you tell us more about that and maybe highlight any key moments that you feel are important to share?
Yeah, I was born low vision, and when I was 3 years old, I got glasses. By the time I was 5 years old, I lost 50% of my total vision. And for the next 20 years, it was stable. The doctors thought that by the time I was 18, that I would be completely blind. So it was really hard for my family. You know, everybody was kind of scared, but luckily I made it. And that didn't happen. So I'm very fortunate in that way. And I'm very grateful for still the vision that I do have today. And when I was 25, that is when I got diagnosed with glaucoma. That was hard though, because for other reasons too. I lost my mom, and my mom was my anchor and my strength, who helped me survive everything, because school was really hard as a kid. I went to a public school and I didn't fit in the public school, but I wasn't blind enough to be at a blind school either. So it was very difficult being in that middle ground because nobody knew what to do with me. And so my mom was truly, I mean, like any mom is for their children, she's the one who helped me survive and get through that. So when she passed, I had got glaucoma in the same year. And so not only was I was losing my mom, but I also knew I was going to have to do it without my mom the rest of my life. And so that was a profound year. And so as time went on, I developed a cataract. I had cataract surgery and I had a glaucoma procedure when I was 30. That was scary because that's the eye that I see out of, and I had to have surgery on that eye. And then a year later, it went really well. For a year, I saw really well. I started having macular degeneration, a rare form of it. And by the time I was 32, I became legally blind, and the eye that I saw out of, and I couldn't drive anymore. And I started to develop. I laugh because it's crazy, but I started to develop eye pain. And for 3 years, from the time I was 32 to 35, I had this eye pain that was just like intermittent, almost like constant, on and off, and nothing helped it. They tried a laser procedure. It didn't help. I went to about 8 to 10 eye doctors. Nobody had any answers for me. It was difficult. And so I found stem cells, and it was meant to be for me to find stem cells. I've now had 3 treatments. The stem cells have stopped the progression of my eye disease. My eye is currently stable right now. It was literally a miracle, and I'm grateful. Now here I am, and I'm grateful for the vision that I have left. And I don't want people to be sad or to pity me, because I live a great life and it is what it is.
First of all, let's acknowledge your journey. That is a lot. That's a lot of surgeries, a lot of trauma that has to be healed physically as well as mentally, emotionally. You lost your mom. These are all very significant things. So I want to take it back a little bit to your childhood, because you kind of wrapped it up by saying you don't look for pity from anyone. You're not looking for that. And I think a lot of people just don't know how to treat someone that has blindness, or someone that's hearing impaired, or someone with a certain kind of disability. Their initial reaction might be pity. So can you take us through maybe some of the childhood experiences? And I think people would like to hear more about that, because I just think most people don't have the information and they don't know what to say. They don't know how to act, and they kind of freeze sometimes. If there's anything you can help us understand about what it's like to be in that space, and then how you would like other people to approach you.
Well, I think that's a great question, because you're right. The funny thing is that growing up as a kid, I thought I was just a normal kid like everybody else. And so me losing vision as a child didn't affect me. Like, it really didn't. It was the circumstance. It was what came with the vision loss. And so everybody was so concerned on, I guess, the physicality of it, and they wanted to prepare me. I learned Braille. Really, what the missing piece was the emotional intelligence, like to treat me just like a kid. So I didn't get treated like a kid, even though I was a kid. And that was the hardest part, growing up as a kid with a disability, not because of the disability. And I truly believe that most kids that grow up with a disability, they don't have the memory like adults do, or the ache of losing vision. They don't know any different, and it's their normal. So for me, that was my normal. And I always say it still to this day. I don't care that I don't see out of one eye. And I really don't. Like, it doesn't bother me, just because it was my normal. I just wanted to be treated just like a kid. That's all I wanted. I just wanted ice cream. I just wanted, like any kid wants, to have fun and to play and have friends. And that's all I wanted. And I know that there were challenges, because I couldn't play recess. I couldn't participate in gym. I couldn't do sports. And that was emotionally hard, because I was secluded and I was very isolated as a child. And if I could go back, I just wish the school system would see and realize, hey, she's a kid just like everybody else. We've got to come up with creative solutions and opportunities for her to not be so excluded and isolated, and just know that it's okay. It's okay. This is that she lives this way. I don't know how else to say that other than I will say that I lost vision as a kid and I lost vision as an adult. Losing vision as an adult, they both come with different struggles. Losing vision as a kid, you don't have the memory or the ache of what it was like to see, but there's a lot of emotional self-esteem issues, confidence issues that goes with that, belief systems, because society projects their sadness onto you and you think, oh, something's wrong with me. What's wrong with me? Those beliefs were ingrained in my head that I'm still working through right now and healing from. And I wish that those were never projected onto me. But as an adult losing vision, it's different because I have the memory of what it was like to see out of my eye before I had this big change for me. Does that make sense though?
It
What I'm
does.
saying?
Yeah, I hear you saying that as a child, you just want to be treated
Yeah.
like a child and like the child you were for being a kid, allowed to be a kid, allowed to play, allowed to do all the things that other kids were doing, even with the limitations, but not having different treatment because of that. It sounds like there was a bit more ease with resilience and flexibility when you were a child, even though, the adults seemed worried about the diagnosis and the progression and things like that. But then as you aged into adulthood, that's where things got tricky because you started having more experiences. There was more vision loss, right? And some additional problems that came about. So ground us in how you landed in, okay, I'm going to pursue a degree. I'm going to still go get a job. How was that factoring in as you're going through all these challenges?
Everybody wants to fit into society. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody wants to fit in because nobody wants to be different. Everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody wants to belong. So I was always treated as someone that needed to fit into society, but I never fit the mold and I never felt normal. I always felt different and that hurt my mental health. My mom really, I told her, I don't want to go to college. That's pointless for me because I don't want to work in corporate because I already lived through my childhood and I already saw how I would be treated in corporate based off my childhood if I went the corporate route. I don't even know that internally I even realized that. I think that's very smart that I thought that when you grow up in school, they're training you for corporate life. And I just knew at a young age, I'm going to make the rules of my own life. I'm when I get out of here, I'm never going to fit in. I'm going to create my own path. I'm going to create my own life. And so I rebelled. Like I still went to I went to college. I did because my mom wanted me to because she was worried. And she was like, I want you to have good benefits for your health, which it made sense. It makes sense. I did go to college. I did because when you're young and you're 18, you listen to other people still and you listen to what your parents want, what's best for you or what you think they think is best for you. So when I was done with college, I rebelled and I became a gypsy and I traveled the world and I worked on yachts and I said, screw this. I'm not going to corporate. I'm not doing what everybody wants me to do. I'm going to live my life. I want to be free. But my mom got sick and I had to go home. And then I became lost after I lost my mom. My sister and I moved to San Diego to be with our other sister. And I just settled for corporate life. And it was exactly what I thought it was going to be like for me. And it was terrible. I hated it. I was stressed and I still didn't fit. I was exactly right. I didn't fit the mold and I struggled. I ended up getting laid off because I had a couple of different corporate jobs and it was really cool. I worked at the Petco headquarters. So at least I can say that. In San Diego, but I just couldn't keep up with everybody else and the demands of corporate life. And I ended up getting laid off. And that was my breakthrough. That was like, okay, Courtney, we're not going to fit the mold. We're not doing it. We're going to come up with something for you and that's going to fit your life for you to get into alignment because I honestly feel like it made me more sick and it could have added to my health issues. Me being so stressed out in corporate trying to fit the mold.
I love that you bring this up because I think vision loss or not, I think this could hit a chord with people. And you having the wisdom and the understanding of what that traditional path, you go to school, you do this, would lead to for you, I think just speaks to your connection with being here, your purpose at a very young age, your intuition was online and informing you. And I think that's very relatable. I had the same thing, but I succumbed to a lot of pressure from my family and my ancestry, the fear and worry that, my child won't be okay unless they go get this type of job. And I think we're in a very unique time right now where what you're talking about is helpful because we're transitioning out of that. A lot more people now are realizing what you realized as a child. You just had the awareness a little bit sooner than a lot of people, right? Once I realized that for myself, it was so helpful then to begin to make a plan, a different plan, and take my life in its own direction, getting real honest with yourself about that. Here you are, you've done the corporate thing, you've gone back, we'll say home with your sisters and to help take care of your mom. You lose your mom. How did you finally make that transition from, okay, I've been following a more traditional path and now I know I really need to pave my own way here. I'm going to get into studying body work and massage. How did that happen? What was that like?
I just could not, from the age of 10 years old, I heard my intuition tell me that one day you're going to help people heal. And one day you're going to help people not feel trapped like you do. Like when I was 10 years old, I heard that because I was so sad at recess because I couldn't play with the other kids. And I just remember my intuition, it just spoke to me and said that. And I just knew that that's what my calling was. And I was like, okay. So I was like, okay. I pushed it aside though. And then I got to a certain point where I was like, screw it. I cannot not listen to my intuition anymore. Like enough was enough. And I just was like, nope, I'm going to trust myself because that's where the problem was. I didn't trust myself because my whole life, people always told me what to do because people told me what they thought I was capable of doing, what I wasn't capable of. So you can ask my family and friends for until I was like almost 30 years old. I always said, oh, well, what does so-and-so think? What does my sister think? What does my mom or dad think? What do they think? Like, what should I do? Like, I never trusted myself to make decisions for me. And I finally decided I'm going to do this. I don't know how, I guess, because I did the yachting thing. And I realized if I can travel the world and do this by myself and people are scared to do something like this, then I can do anything. And so I was just so heartbroken from everything happening. And I did not want to continue to live a life where I didn't have peace within. I knew that it wasn't going to get easier for me. And I also wanted to protect my soul. And I was like, I've got to do something to where if I do become, this was before I became legally blind. And I thought I have to do something to where if I become legally blind, I have something to do and something that I enjoy and that I love. And that's going to bring fulfillment and peace. And I believe that I could do it. As you said, there was a lot of pressure on me and people were like, what? You went and got a degree in business and marketing. And I was like, nope, I decided I want to do massage school now. And everyone thought I was crazy because you think of a massage therapist, they don't make much money. So I was up against a lot of pressure. I stopped listening to everybody else and I didn't care what anybody else said. And I said, no, for the first time in my life, I'm going to do what Courtney thinks and what Courtney says and what Courtney believes. And I was 30 years old when I finally made the decision to step into alignment and to walk a path that actually fit me. And it was scary, but I did it. And no turning back.
And yes, you did. Everything at that time that you were going through, there was still a lot of grief from losing your mom and her being your anchor. Now, I'm assuming for people with disabilities or varying levels of blindness, that anchor could be very much in the form of physical support, emotional support. You spoke more to, she helped you ground, she was that kind of support for you. You were still able to go do some things physically on your own and figure it out. How did you navigate that grief as you're going through all this, taking this big turn in your life? Did the grief in some ways maybe help motivate you into that next level?
Yeah, I think all of my grief with all the different things has factored in to my power. I wanted peace because of everything I had been through. I think that my whole life, my mom was so worried about me And I wanted to make my mom proud. I wanted my mom to not worry about me. And I think that's where it came from. I wanted to finally do something to where I felt confident in myself and succeeding. I wanted to do it for my mom. And I wanted my mom to see, like, look, I'm going to do it. And so I think that is what that's what started the momentum and got me into doing this, because I also knew too, I was going to start my own practice. I wasn't just going to be a massage therapist and be someone basic. I was going to do this and give it my all, and I was going to be successful, and failure was not an option. And I wanted to prove to myself and I wanted to prove to my mom that I was going to be okay. I think that's where a lot of it came from, the momentum, the motivation.
Absolutely. So in that way, you were able to kind of fuel your own desires and fire even further into what you were passionate about doing. And so you had that resolve, which I think is absolutely wonderful for anyone to have when they're embarking on this kind of journey and stepping into their purpose and stepping into something that they feel good about, that's going to help the world and help them at the same time. So I knew you have always been so good at not avoiding emotion. And so I think it's important for people to hear about how you can use even the toughest emotions to transform into a place of power. And you also mentioned peace. And I think that's so cool how that seems like a very balanced place to be, empowered or in your power, and then also moving toward peace and experiencing peace in your life as well, especially after these big changes that have happened for you. And the energy of worry is very relatable to people, because many of us may have experienced parents or people that care about us worrying about us. And that worry energy is something that comes from fear, and it comes from past trauma and the beliefs that, maybe our ancestors took on as a means of survival. So it kind of puts the vibrational energy in that survival state rather than in that thriving state, which is where we want to get to as we evolve. I think it's just really interesting that you were able to take the worry and you were able to take that into, I want to make her proud. I want to shift that and really show her, that I can do this. And I think that's something that many people actually relate to. It's a challenging process. It doesn't happen overnight, but it also is very important for us to go through it. By doing that, we are acknowledging the emotional energy and the vibrational energy that's taking place in ourselves and in the people around us who we're closest to. So I find that fascinating. I can attest you're an amazing body worker and massage therapist, and you're continuing to make transitions in your business, and you've got a couple things going on. I know I just got an email about how you're going to transition your body work. So I'd like to hear about that. And then we'll go into a little bit about the Aligned Rebel. But can you tell me first, like, how you're honoring yourself now through this new decision about your approach to body work?
I'm honoring myself now because I've just tried to keep up with the sided, and I've realized that I can't. And that's okay. I am at a point in my life where I want to preserve as much sight as I can, which as anybody would. And sometimes the demands of the physical work are just too much on me. I felt guilty for having to make this decision. And it was a really hard decision for me, because I always thought that if you were aligned with something that you love and that you're good at, that you should just stick with it. But it's been affecting my health with my eye. And I realized that you have to be in alignment with your mind, body, and soul. It's not just you're in alignment spiritually. I wasn't being in alignment and honoring my body. And that's something that I never thought about. And I recently just learned there's a lot of disconnect with the world. There's a lot of people feeling like they have to live in this hustle, this grind. Everybody's in their survival mode. I see it, feel it, because of all the people that I've worked on. Although a lot of people, like what I specialize in has always been pain relief, the root even before that is their nervous system. If your nervous system is always shot, it doesn't matter what you do, you're always going to be in pain. I've realized with my own experience, me getting a handle of my own nervous system, that is going to be what is going to save my health, as with everybody else. And so I'm honoring myself because this is what's going to help me moving forward. But I want to help other people realize, like, take a breath, be present, and just realize that we don't all have to be living in survival mode. We need to just like take a breath and live presently, and I want to help people with that.
I absolutely love that. And I'm going to let you relax for a second while I tell you a little synchronicity story here, because I have my own response. Here I am. I'm, been a client of yours for the bodywork sessions, and I go in and you're getting in there and the deep tissue, and we got the scraping and we got the cupping, and I'm like, yeah, and I get all the relief, and there's a lot that comes out during the sessions. And when you sent the email of like, I'm changing directions, I'm going to move more into cranial sacral therapy and, relaxing the nervous system and things like that, I had this like, no kind of reaction at first. But what's really interesting is what I am struggling with now is moving from the masculine energy, the hustle, the bustle, the push, bulldoze through, push through, grind, dig in there, that active energy, which is beautiful. And there's a time and a place for it. And it's amazing. It's part of the world on the one hand, but in myself, I'm shifting more into the feminine energies, the receiving, the calming of the nervous system, allowing things to move more slowly. And so this has been a theme for me. And so my initial reaction, I was really gauging that for myself, because I was like, oh no, I'm so used to all the scraping and the cupping and all of this, and I love it. And what am I going to do? Selfishly thinking, what am I going to do? But also completely understanding why you're moving into that for yourself and taking care of yourself and absolutely honoring that. And then my friend, I have another massage therapist friend in Ohio, and I didn't know he was going to a session with a new therapist. She was a craniosacral therapist, and he had previously been going to someone who did all the sports massage, the cupping, the, very physical, and got out of that massage and said it was one of the best experiences he's ever had, that he feels more relief than he's ever felt in a very physical massage, that he's come out of this craniosacral therapy and a more what I might describe as a gentle touch, with feeling fantastic. And I was like, you will not believe the synchronicity here, because I needed to hear you say that. And I need to allow myself to slow down and to experience the more gentle energies. So just to show how we're all connected and how one person's decision to honor themselves can help another person decide to honor themselves in a different way. The universe has this really unique way of placing these messages and these people before us, so we make those connections. And so now I've shifted my own energy into, I can't wait to do this new type of session with you. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to really work on slowing myself down. I'm really going to work on receiving the healing and the relaxation, because that's something I really struggle with. So I just wanted to share that, because I thought it was a really sweet way that the universe kind of made me aware of my own resistances with what was happening. I love that you absolutely listen to your own calling of your heart, of your body, of your soul, of your mind, and that you mentioned that alignment, it's coming together in all of those categories and honoring that. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much. You're a part of that for me.
And I know so many people don't realize that when your brain is not healthy, nothing is. Your brain controls every function of your body. So it's really working with the cerebral spinal fluid to improve the brain function of the totality of your entire body. It's still deep work. It's still deep work. It's just internal, and it's not so much like just the physical. You'll like it, Stephanie. You will.
I
It's
know I will. I just wanted to share that little part of my story about how the
the
synchronicity lined up.
synchronicity.
And it's something that I've been trying to work on and asking the universe for support in. And you end up getting the support, not always how you expect, you know?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny?
Yay. So, Courtney, you have talked about the alignment in mind, body, soul, spirit, everything coming into alignment. I'm curious to hear about your most recent up level into founding the Aligned Rebel. Tell us about it. What is it? And how does it complement your mission and your purpose?
The Aligned Rebel method is literally the embodiment and the purpose and journey of my entire life. I have had to rebel against everything society has ever told me because I don't fit in. And so, because of that, I've had to find my own alignment. It's a method for people who have felt lost or unseen, misunderstood, despite their circumstance, whether they have a disability or not. It's for people who finally just they want emotional freedom. That's literally like the biggest thing you can take from it because I am emotionally free. I have a lot of peace within me because of making a life fit me and doing what's best for me based off of my abilities, my passions, and forgetting what society says. And sometimes that's really hard for people because everybody wants to live by society standards and norms. But when you do that, you don't have freedom. The only way you can have freedom is to write your own script. And so that is what the Aligned Rebel method is. It's teaching you how to create a life best fit for you and with your alignment, mind, body, and soul, for you to receive love, abundance, money, and to just live the best possible life you possibly can, fit for you and your needs. That's what it is.
So suitable, I would say, to many people. Are you finding that like your target audience is people who want to work on that alignment, whether or not they have a disability?
Yeah, I first started speaking on TikTok about my disability. And then I started to realize that other people with disabilities were following me. And then people who were like neurodivergent, people who were autistic, and they started following me and started asking questions. And then I was like, wow, like I had a front row view firsthand when I was a kid at seeing how the world was so disconnected. And so I kind of already knew that. And I guess I just thought that people would only like me and would follow me who were visually impaired. But then I started realizing that no, I think more people will like me. Like we're in a mental health crisis
Yeah.
in the world. And that is literally like everybody struggles with mental health. You know, there's a lot of single moms. There's a lot of people who are in toxic relationships. There are people who just feel like they're so stuck living in corporate life. I feel like there's some kind of aspect to everybody in the world who can relate to this and with some component because there are so many people who just feel stuck in their life. And if you feel stuck, it's for you. You don't have to have a disability. It just so happens that my story of me living through a life with a disability forced me to not meet society's expectations and live a normal society life. That's what forced me into this. And because of that, it's partially, I mean, it's a gift and it's a blessing because if I never would have had to go through the things I've been through, I may still be in the same situation as everybody else living, you know, and working a corporate life, feeling like I have to and feeling the shame and the guilt of the hustle, the go, 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 go. And I don't work like that. I think a lot of people can relate to what I'm doing.
Absolutely. So the Aligned Rebel is open to anyone and everyone who wants to bring their life into alignment, regardless of what their background is or their specific situation. It can be helpful in multiple ways. And I love that. That's how I approach my business as well. I do want to, though, honor because of your unique experience with the progressive blindness, you might have some good tips for our blind entrepreneurs or people who are progressively losing vision and having trouble, you know, overcoming any obstacles there. What are some of the challenges that you have gone through? Maybe a little more specifically, having the vision, or has it actually helped you in some ways? Has it offered you some unique doors opening?
The vision has helped me with unique doors. It's forced me to be resilient, creative, and very resourceful. And with those skills, those are the skills it takes to be an entrepreneur. Everybody on my blind tribe is all of those, and compassion too, being able to understand and have empathy for people as well. You're never going to fit into society, period, if you're visually impaired. And that would be what I want people to realize who are still trying to fit into a mold that they don't fit. You're not going to, and it's always going to affect your health, your mental health. It's always going to be difficult, and you're always going to feel like a burden because people are going to make you feel that way. When people don't know, they're unfamiliar with something, which unfortunately a lot of people are unfamiliar with living a visually impaired experience because it's rare. They're never going to know how to treat you or understand. And it's not their job to understand. So I feel the best thing for anybody visually impaired is to become an entrepreneur. And that is your gateway to freedom. Leaning into your strengths, what you truly like, that is what is going to open opportunities in your life. And for you to stop feeling like you have to fit into this box you don't even fit into, because you're never going to. So for blind people, I just want for all of them to be entrepreneurs. And unfortunately, there's a lot of, they feel like they're not even capable because of these small beliefs that people have projected onto them. And that's what I help my blind tribe with. I help them build confidence, but I see it with all of my friends in my blind tribe. They're all having difficulties with their jobs and corporate and fitting in because there's not enough accessibility. Things weren't made for the blind. They were never made for them to fit in. And so because of that, there's accessibility issues emotionally and physically, because I see it because it affects their mental health. Because people think, oh, well, can you even do this? Or can you do that? Like things like that. So it causes a lot of depression for the blind. And I just wish they could just get out of it and just realize that they are worthy and they have so much to offer the world. And they have a lot of strengths. Although they have a weakness with their ability to see, they have a lot of strengths in other categories. Like I said, resilience, resourcefulness, compassion, creativity. And those are the key components to being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. I can attest to that for sure. And I love how you highlighted building those things up and the confidence and the worth, especially having lived a life where you're treated differently. I know in the corporate world, accommodations, right? We live in a society that's had to create laws just to protect people that need accommodations or should be accommodated for existing, right? And it's that's a lot of mental pressure to put on someone their entire life, whether it's intentional or unintentional. I really love that you're coming together in a space with Blind Tribe and helping them as well. And as each of you share your stories, it seems like there could be opportunities for more and more empowerment amongst the entire group and the way that they can come into the entrepreneurial space and online. I know it's important also to get out and interact. I know you've challenged yourself with getting out in public. So you're not just on the online space, you're getting out and you're challenging yourself to go around town and interact personally too. How do you find that balance, having blindness and the progression of vision loss? How do you find the balance in, I need to get out and in real contact with people, but I also have these things that are going really well online? How do you do that?
Letting go of what was and realizing this is where I'm at now and that it's okay. I live differently. And I know, like, I've always had, to some people say, well, you've had, bad eyesight your whole life. Yes, that's true. But I had a big change as an adult. Like I said, I've always been low vision. I had 50% of my vision. But when I became legally blind, I lost my driver's license, and you lose your independence, your freedom. And for one, you have to grieve. You have to allow yourself to feel. You have to feel to heal. Once you you work through the grieving, you have to change. You're forced to, your identity changes, how you see yourself and how the world now sees you. It has been very hard. But you adapt, you adjust. And I have literally had to just let go of the old version of who I was, because it's so easy to say, oh, well, I used to be able to see that. I used to be able to do that. I can't make eye contact like I could before with people, and recognize people anymore. I used to be able to do that. When I think of it, it's hard, but I've had to let that go and just like, you know what? It's a different experience now, and this is my life. I have become so much more attuned to myself and others because of it. I've gotten to see the beauty in people. There are some really nice, kind people out in the world. I know obviously there are not so great, but I've been able to see the beauty in so many wonderful people. And I never got to see that before. It is different. And I think it goes for anything in life. You can't continue to, it's grief. You can't continue to hang on to your life of what it was. It's just like when someone passes away, you're passing away. You're losing a piece of yourself. And you just, it does create like a hole, like there's a space that's never there again. Like when anybody grieves and someone passes, but you learn to grow around that hole, and from that hole, it's different. You can still do it. I've learned how strong and capable I am, and I still have a beautiful life. There are hard moments, but I have a lot of really great things that still are happening to me, like my Blind Tribe, supporting them, like being on this podcast. I'm excited about my cranial sacral and really just being more spiritual and sharing my intuitive gifts, because I am very intuitive and I haven't been able to do that as much before. But just allowing myself to also just be, it's honestly, it's completely forced me, which is great, to change all of my limited beliefs. When this happened to me, I was forced to face my trauma from when it happened as a kid, and it helped me heal from the trauma I had from a kid, which was really crazy. So in all honesty, now I'm a lot happier, which is crazy to think about because I'm legally blind now. But I'm a lot happier now than I've ever been in my life, because I have peace within, because I know that I'm worthy. I've reprogrammed all my beliefs, and I know that my disability, it's not measured by how much I'm worth. I know how much value I have to add to this world, and I'm so proud of the person that I have become. It's really funny, but that's how I do it.
Yes, I love it. It's beautiful, it's empowering, and it hasn't always been easy. And you've acknowledged that. You've acknowledged some of the challenges and the hard time. I love to hear that you're coming together in communities and you have different circles that you're involved in. It's not only just one thing. You're touching many different people in your business and in the Blind Tribe and the Aligned Rebel now, and in the creators community here that you participate in as well. So I love the effort, and maybe, yes, you feel forced into it, but you're also the one who's taking the action to seek people out and to work with other people and collaborate with other people. And, these things will just keep opening up the more you put the effort into it. So yes, it's the emotional processing. Yes, it's processing grief, and it's the alignment, but then also the effort and the vulnerability to reach out and be a part of something new. Okay, so people are like, wow, this is so cool. The Aligned Rebel. How are people going to get a hold of you? How can they connect with you? And of course, I'll put all the links in the description below. But how would you like them to reach out if they want to know more about your offerings?
I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm also on YouTube, and I have a website, and it's really just the same clear across the board. It's Aligned Rebel. TikTok and Instagram, it's aligned dot rebel, and then YouTube is aligned dash, because they didn't have the dot. Rebel, okay? And then my website is alignedrebel.co, just the CO. We may change that in the future. For now, that's what we're working with, okay? I have a wait list because I'm working on my course still. If you follow me on TikTok, on any of these, you can click the link in my bio and there is a wait list. There's also the wait list on my website. So really, if you just follow me on any of my social media handles, you'll be able to see that you can join the wait list. If you're visually impaired, you can join Blind Tribe. I have a free vision loss guide for the visually impaired as well. You can book my body work. You can find the link in my bio and it'll take you to everything that I have. So yeah.
Yay. Well, I definitely encourage our creators community out there to get in touch with you and check out everything that you have going on. So just for anyone who's listened that maybe found me through Courtney or knowing Courtney, please make yourself at home at Creators on the Crest. I do my best here to offer intuitive guidance in the form of mostly tarot, but I would say it's tarot plus. There's a little bit more going on. I'm having a lot of fun here on the channel and creating new things, and like Courtney, always evolving and trying and testing new things. So we're so pleased to have you all with us today. Thank you so much for listening. And Courtney, do you have any final closing words for our amazing audience?
I think that anybody can create magic, like you said earlier, through their story, their truth, no matter what has happened in their life. I would encourage everybody that no matter what obstacles you have faced or circumstances you're in, turn your pain into power some way, because that's what I've done. That's what's gotten me through life. And I just feel like it will give you so much gratitude. People want to hear your truth. They want to hear your story. They do.
I love that. And the piece that I would add, and you've already spoken to this in this episode, but it's to also trust your intuition.
Oh,
What your internal guidance system is telling you. And everybody has a different pace with which they're able to affect change in their life. If you need to make a plan, make a plan. But even the tiniest of baby steps is still a step. So I just want to encourage everyone, start somewhere, pull that thread from somewhere, and you will find that that everyday magic begins to unfold more and more and more. We're so grateful, both Courtney and I, to have you all with us today. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Maybe Courtney and I could come back around later on and do another episode, because I'm sure we'll have more to talk about at some point. Courtney, thank you so much. And thank you to our audience.